Symbolism's a funny thing, isn't it? Finding inference and meaning in the things that we see. And I'm a nerd. I love it. I love finding all those little references in the things that I watch and the media I consume. Now, as you may know, at the Summer Olympic Games this year, part of the opening ceremony was a tableau, a feast or meal, depicting people of many different creeds and colours, centred around, I believe, a drag queen or transgendered person haloed, and in the foreground, a near-naked man in blue, wreathed only in a few bunches of grapes. Christians immediately jumped on this, saying that it was blasphemous and that they were draping the satanic and the degenerate on the classic imagery of Da Vinci's depiction of the Last Supper. Now, we have to be careful when we interpret things, that our biases do not overtly colour our interpretations. And later it was clarified by the organisers that it was actually a reference to a Jean de Bile painting called Feast of the Gods, depicting the Roman god Bacchus, or if you prefer, the original Greek Dionysus, god of wine, merriment, and madness. And I don't know about you, but I don't remember a half-naked blue bloke photobombing that picture of the most auspicious of evening meals, depicting people that probably didn't look the way that they did, doing something that we can't prove actually happened. So to me, this is just another example of the reactionary persecution complex of Christian fundamentalists. It highlights their need to have these sacred things that cannot be countenanced, and the hypocrisy of calling atheists degenerate and drag queens satanic while claiming offense themselves. And so what if it was the Last Supper Drag Race edition? Why should we hold these things so sacred? Why can't we make fun? It may not have happened at all. It certainly didn't look that way if it did. So why can't we have a little bit of a jape? Is God so emotionally sensitive? So if you can think of any reason why we can't poke a little fun at any piece of artwork, religious or otherwise, then I encourage you to call the show, because it's starting now. Hello and welcome to Talk Heathen. It is a balmy Sunday, the 4th of August, and I am coming to you live from my little hovel, and I'm joined to you today by Helen Greene. Hello, Helen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm really excited to be here. I'm all giddy about it. So I'm really excited. I hope the show today is going to be really interesting. And I hope we get some really cool calls and have some really great conversations.
Indeed. I believe we actually already have a call or two in the queue already. But there's a few things we have to go through first. As ever, Talk Heathen is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 non-profit organization dedicated to atheism, secular humanism, and rational thinking and the separation of religion and government. And if you want to get involved, like these people who are currently patiently waiting online are, you can either call us old school at the number 512-991-9242, or if you're a bit new or more newfangled, do go to the website tiny.cc/call-TH. So fantastic. I'm really excited to get started with you, Helen. We've got a couple of things to get sorted first. And first of all, I would like to enlist your help in going over our Talk Heathen Timmy segment. Last week, we posted, pick your poison, posed you a question. Why is God so angry? And if you do the honors in reading out our top 3 answers.
Yes. So the wrong answer is only that we got number 3 from, and if I mispronounce your name, I am very sorry, Cyrilay. Why Yahweh is so angry? Because the Paris Olympics was in fact celebrating Dionysus and not making fun of the Last Supper. Persecution complexes are hard, yo. So, they are.
I promise you, I came up with the cold open before I saw these. Like, it's so obvious.
It's a theme now. So, number 2 comes from Scott M. God's angry because he only gets sloppy seconds. Only those who let Jesus enter them reach the Father.
Yeah, I've seen. I won't repeat the sign because of the inferences.
Yeah,
but,
right.
And we're not more than 10 minutes into it. I don't want to get the VOD demonetized. But there are certain phrasings that are used around Jesus that could be construed in other ways.
I know a dirty joke that I could say, but again, I don't want to get in trouble in the first 10 minutes.
Perhaps for the after show, we shall see.
For sure.
And how about our top one?
And our top one comes from Steve Rowe. God is angry because Satan gets more tail, which is true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Also, Satan really doesn't have that much of a rap sheet, personally. Like, he seems to just be a guy doing his job. But anyway, we'll wait to see.
So we have a prompt for next week. So for you, all you wonderful people that love to engage in our comments section, please give us your answers to next week's prompt, which is, what is a subtle clue that you picked the wrong religion? Again, the best top 3 answers will be read out on next week's show. So, Jamie, let me pose that question to you. What makes you think you picked the wrong religion?
If I'm in a religion, I'm in the wrong one because they let me in. How about yourself? You got an answer for that one?
Weird sex stuff. There's always weird sex stuff, and not like consensual fun sex stuff that makes you go, is this illegal?
Yeah. So. And just a reminder, do put those in the comments down below, not in the live chat, because we won't see them if they're in the live chat. They will not come up. Excellent. And just a couple more things to go. If you want to get involved with the show live as well, you can feel free to bomb us with super chats. And as long as they are appropriate for air, we will read them out. We have very little in the way of shame. So as long as it's TOS, you can make us say basically anything. And lastly, before we get on with the rest of the show, I'd like to see a little bit behind the curtain, because we're not the only ones here. We have a wonderful crew who make us look good, and there they are. Aren't they fantastic?
Yay, crew. We love our crew.
and not to, I mean, we do it every week, but they really do deserve to be praised, because for one person in front of a camera, there's 5 behind it. And for every 5 people in the production crew, there's another 5 behind them doing things like moderation and email checking and all kinds of really important stuff. And nobody really gets paid for this. We're all volunteers. So thank you very much, crew. We appreciate it.
For sure. Okay, Jamie, are you ready to get this show on the road?
We have a call ready.
All right.
We're ready to rock. So we have Benjamin, him, calling in from Alabama. He wants to explain how evil is good. I'm going to bring you on. Hello, Benjamin. Can you hear us?
Hey.
Okie dokie, sir. That is a bold-ass claim. Please do explain.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go over 1 or 2 things first before I got started. So I called in last week about slavery, and people in the comments, it was pretty funny, the comments I got on it. I explained the pros of slavery last week. But the reason I was calling this time is to explain how evil is good. And I know that sounds like a double negative, but I was going to try to explain. So whenever stuff happens to people, whether it's hurricanes or tornadoes, which I have personal experience with tornadoes, but and other natural disasters, or even just everyday events, losing car keys, the outcome of that, it can teach people lessons. It makes people stronger. even through grief or death, or there's always a purpose to all of it. Death, for example, if it's that person's time to go, then there's that. If you get sick, it makes your body stronger. So there's a lot of pros to actual what would be considered bad or evil.
Okay. Well, so that's often what's called the theodicy of the greater good, like the things that are apparently evil, in fact, serve a greater good purpose. I have some thoughts on that, but I'd actually like to throw it over to my co-host, Helen, first, see if you have any thoughts on this to get us started.
So let me pose you a question. Do people have to go through, catastrophic events to learn lessons? Like what is the purpose of like people going through like really terrible things so they become a stronger person? Like, is there can't you do those things without losing your house in a hurricane? Because there is a little bit of a problem with that premise, indeed that, if terrible things happen to people, they're supposed to somehow grow out of it. But there are people that go through very challenging events and it actually makes their lives much worse. And they can't get back from it. They don't get the help that they need. So to me, it all depends on circumstance and what type of person you are. So is it worth to go through a terrible event to become a stronger, better person?
So, 2 things. I didn't want to interrupt you. So, the bad things that happen to people, there's different levels to bad things that happen to people. So, for example, losing car keys, would teach somebody to hold on to their car keys more better. The second point that I wanted to make on that was that in the losing the house example, even if somebody loses their house due to a hurricane that's not in their control, it might have happened for a good reason. Maybe it was time for them to move away, have better opportunities someplace else. And in my case, here in my town, we got destroyed by tornadoes. There was 3 tornadoes in one day back in April of 2011. And my whole town got destroyed downtown. And a lot of people I knew left. But they also left and got better jobs and more opportunities, because even here, there's not much here to do. And we're slowly rebuilding downtown. But it's a process, and it teaches people patience. And patience is a virtue.
So I'm going to step in with a couple of thoughts here. Firstly, I'm strongly of the belief that people flourish in spite of trauma, not because of it. Trauma often does leave us permanently damaged, and a lot of traumas do not have an upside. For example, I don't care how much personal strength and fortitude and ability to deal with stressful situations better comes from a pair of parents losing their child to early onset cancer that takes them before they reach their 2nd birthday. I can't think of any lesson worth paying that price. And it's a circular argument. We suffer to get better at dealing with suffering so we can do it better when we suffer more. Why is all that suffering necessary?
I wasn't trying to fall into a circular argument. That's why I was more going along with it, teaches people stuff. But are the lessons worth the price of the? Are the lessons worth the price of admission? Like, I don't think they are in a lot of cases. Yeah, losing your keys doesn't really have much in the way of consequence, but losing your life or the life of someone you care about or everything that you hold dear or your dignity or your sanity or your agency, these are prices that should not have to be paid, whatever the outcome. Well, I was going to bring up what I know some Christians would say. and which I'm considered, I guess, Christianity, but I'm like the old version of it, like that died off hundreds of years ago, the belief system that it was. But I would say, well, I'm going to say what other people would probably say to that, and say that in the Bible it talks about how the devil is a tester of faith. And anytime that something happens bad, and I know your example is pretty bad, the loss of a child, but there's always a reason for even the extreme bad. There's always a reason for it, whether it's to teach a lesson or to make somebody emotionally stronger, physically stronger.
So let me cut you off there for a second, there, Benjamin. Is your God good?
Not completely. I don't believe God is all good, because then
okay.
you get into the Father of good.
Well, again, then he's a monster, and I hope, therefore, like a lot of the time, I want to know what's true, and if that God exists, I'd like to know if he does, and if you can prove it, give us evidence. That's fine. But I hope, beyond all hope, that megalomaniacal bully doesn't exist.
And I have a question. If God isn't all good, what's the point of having a devil? Because if God is the arbiter of what is, what people learn, like if he does bring some kind of tragic event into somebody's life, to be like, well, this is a lesson you have to learn, rather than just coming down and saying, hey, you know what? Instead of you going through a horrific event, let me tell you, an opportunity that might come along if you move away from your town. Instead of sending a tornado in to force people to move out, you could have just come down and said, hey, you know what? Don't stay here because there's no job opportunities. I'm going to tell you where to go get a job, or fix what's happening right in that community. If you are all powerful, and you have the ability to do this, and you don't, then to me, I'm like, then you're just as evil as the devil, and you've already admitted that your God is not all good. So what's the point of having Satan? What's the point of having a deity that's capable of creating change but refuses to do so? It makes no sense.
I was going to say, I don't think the devil's the bad guy. And here's why. So originally, Lucifer was the most wisest, beautifulest angel in all of creation. And when he fell, even while he's here on earth, which there's a couple of things that I'll say to that too, but his job was to test people's faith. That's why I believe it was Job. God told the devil to kill his livestock, give him boils, murder his family, and see if he still praises God. The other flip side to that is that the devil is not able to do anything that God doesn't allow him to do. So if the devil wanted to cause chaos, cause destruction, whatever the case may be, God is the one that's allowing that. It's not just the devil.
So all that does deal with a lot of the problems that we usually have with the triomni God, and that's fantastic that you're aware of those issues. My question is, like, do you worship this God? And if so, why?
Well, I wouldn't say I worship him. I would say I believe in a God. Whether or not that God is omnipresent or all good is irrelevant, because and I don't want to go into I'm drawing a blank on it now. The threat of hell. I'm sure you can tell me what the name of it is. I can't think at the moment.
Yeah, it's just the damnation, threat of hell. Yeah.
Yeah. So the people would believe in God just in case. Which I guess I'm kind of that way, but not really, because I believe that Jesus was the Son of God, but Jesus also was a God in human form. And that's why I said my belief system died off a long time ago, because the one that is was more Middle Ages to early, I want to say 3rd to 4th century. And then after the Romans took over, burned half the books in the Bible and changed everything got screwed up anyway.
What I would say, Benjamin, let me just jump in here, sir. Let me just quickly jump in. What I would say, Benjamin, is that I would recommend that you look at the reasons why you believe what you believe, because it sounds like you're a good, reasonable, and quite logical person. Like you recognize some of the flaws in some of the depictions and outlooks of Christians and the Christian God. And I would say that recognize maybe that it's fear that's driving you to want to believe these things. Not just fear of hell, but fear of, or a preference that you'd rather have a malevolent intelligence than actual just nature, the unpredictability and the seeming randomness of nature. So I don't see malevolence in the universe. I see nature running its course for good or ill. And ascribing these things to an intelligence, good or ill, I find that that tends to be the recourse of people who are afraid of the unknown. They'd rather have an evil dictator than no leader at all.
Well, no, I believe in God based on personal experience and events in my life. But at the same time, I'm not afraid of God. I know a lot of Christianity, depending on the denomination, they believe that you're supposed to fear God, but yet God is loving, and that's contradictory. Which y'all point that out a lot anyway.
But so I have a question though. If you said that you don't have a fear of God, but I think what Jamie's getting at that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's not the actual fear of a God. It is the fear that the universe is random and it doesn't give two shits about you, doesn't give two shits about me, doesn't give it. There is no purpose. Nature is just going to nature. There is no predetermination. There is no purpose for the way things kind of happen. And that can be very scary if there is no grand scheme to anything. It is just like, sometimes hurricanes topple people's houses. Sometimes, people are faced with very catastrophic things. And through that, they are, if they have the ability and will and get help to progress and become better. But that comes down to choice. It doesn't come down to some divine providence. So I'm wondering if it's that fear that it is all random. There is no grand purpose to everything. It's just the way that things are.
My belief system is pretty old-fashioned. I believe in limbo, which not a lot of denominations believe in limbo anymore, but I believe in limbo, heaven, and hell. I believe that the devil's on earth. I believe that he has control over certain things that God allows him to do, whether that's to test people's faiths or just cause destruction. Either answer to that would be sufficient. But that's my belief system. I also believe that God isn't entirely good, because if he was, there wouldn't be evil in the first place.
So again, not a triharmony. But the telling thing you said that makes us think this, and Helen, you are correct about my standpoint on this. You said everything happens for a reason. No, it doesn't. Things happen because they happen. They have causes. There is such a thing as causality, but it's not like for an end, And here's the thing. One of the things that I find most disturbing about ascribing these things to a higher power, be it malevolent or benevolent, like wonderful things happen to people all the time. We meet people that we fall in love with for the rest of our lives. We have wonderful experiences that change us in positive ways. It's not all evil in this world. There's plenty of good too. But by ascribing that to some higher power, we lose our agency. We are giving it away. and saying, well, can't be helped, nothing we can do about it, when there is. If we just said, well, it's the will of the gods, we wouldn't have done things like discover penicillin. We wouldn't have learned medicine. We wouldn't have learned telecommunication. We wouldn't have tried to better ourselves, knowing that we are all we have and our effort is all we can do. We have one life and we have one chance to make it as good as we can. And there's no big daddy in the sky twiddling the knobs. And that's what gives my life meaning, to know that if I want this world to be better than it is now, I have to get off my ass and do something about it and encourage other people to do so. No gods involved. What do you think about that?
Well, so the way that you look at it, you have one life. I still believe in an afterlife, but if you look at life in the lens of I only have one life, and after that I'm going into dirt and returning to nature and dust to dust, then that kind of puts you in a position where you have to rush or try to accomplish all your goals, bucket list, whatever you want to call it, before you die. And because you don't know when you're going to die, that just complicates things.
Yeah, and also come to the acceptance that I'll never get everything done. Never. I will never be able to do everything I want. There is never going to be enough time. It's what's known as existential horror, like the understanding of how small and weak and insignificant we are as compared to the rest of the universe can really cause you some mental trauma. There's whole swaths of philosophy and even fiction about that feeling of feeling so small. But when you accept your place in the world and the scale of your life, you understand that, yeah, you might be a microscopic speck on a tiny blue ball in an insignificant part of an unremarkable galaxy. But you have friends and family and time to have wonderful experiences. And I urge everyone to let go of the fear of some internal judge wagging his big finger at you, and enjoy what you can and have a good life, improve things.
I will say this, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I will say that I've been here for a long time. I've lived in this town for about 40 years. I grew up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, which I've always been a kid at heart, so I watched cartoons all throughout the decades. But a lot of stuff, the way that the outlook on sin and gays and a bunch of other stuff back in the 80s and 90s is completely upside down now to what it used to be 30, 40 years ago. You know, and I don't know if that's because of the way the world has changed or outlook on things have changed. I was also going to ask you if you cared if I went into the pros of slavery just to get your take on it, because I went into it last week with the other two hosts.
I actually was the backup host of that show, so I could already answer you.
I watched the show, so I heard their argument.
I have an answer for you, and you can refute. So you're saying that slavery wasn't all bad, and that there was advantages to the slave, and especially the indentured servitude. And my answer to that is that part of the price for being a slave or being a servant is the abrogation, the removing of my agency and free will. You can't quit. You can't run away. It doesn't matter how shitty my job is, how awful my boss is. I can give him the finger and tell him to get fucked. But you can't do that to your master, because if you do, they'll beat you. And that's why I don't like slavery as a concept. Even if I granted that I'm getting a roof over my head and food in my belly and work experience or whatever, like a really, really harsh internship.
What would the alternative be? Starving to death? Not having shelter? I mean,
you ask every slave rebel that ever broke their chains whether they prefer slavery or death.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, men, I heard your argument last week, and I just don't understand the need to want to make slavery okay. I do not understand it. In any context, in any way, over time, slavery is horrible because it is basically saying that other groups or human beings are subsets. They're not complete people. And other people have the right to own them and use them for all sorts of things, whether it be sexual slavery, labor slavery, whatever it is basically saying, I get to decide what you do and what I can and cannot what to use your body for. That is slavery. And no way over time, any argument that somebody makes is going to make that okay.
No,
None.
So I disagreed with the way that slaves was treated in that video. I said that in Exodus 21:20, where it says that you can beat your slave, I don't agree with that. And I said that in the video.
I know that, but what I'm saying is that why even try to make even benevolent slavery? So, like argue for that. Slavery is slavery. That's the way it is. Slavery is slavery. I'm saying I have the right, basically, like I could make you my slave. Do you want to be my slave? Do you want me to tell you what to do and not do and make you take care of my house and mow my lawn and not pay you? And you can't leave. You have no choice. You don't have agency.
What?
Even if I'm super nice.
Well, my point is that in some ways it benefits. I mean, pros and cons, weighing the pros and cons. To the other person's point, what they said is that even in indentured servitude, if it provides housing and you work for the person for a certain amount of time to pay off a debt, which is what so what I was always told, indentured servitude is paying off a debt from somebody.
And to reiterate the point that was made last week, which I agree with, it's usually predatory, and you're trapped. This is the thing. If you're in indentured servitude, it's usually you are doing orders of magnitude more labor for what you get, and you can't leave. There's no out. You can't run away. You can't quit. You can't even say no. That's one of the wonderful things about an actual job, is if someone tells you to do something that you are morally against or physically incapable of, or something that's super dangerous, you can just quit. You can say, no, I'm not going to do that. And so all of the downsides to slavery that you say, oh, well, if you take away that, you're just describing work. You're just describing an internship, an unpaid internship.
Like, and Ben, have you ever been a slave?
No, not.
So you're talking from a place of privilege. If you talk to anyone that's been an indentured servant or ever been a slave and say, hey, do you prefer being a slave even though you got a roof and food in your belly, or the ability, even though it might be harder, to make your own choices and to have agency over your own life? I guarantee 100% of those people would probably say, yes, I prefer having my freedom. I can't, maybe 99.9%. Okay, I won't say 100%. Okay, because that's, I don't want to make absolute proofs. But a majority of people, a good portion of all of us really like having agency, and we really like having the ability to make decisions for ourselves and not for anyone else to hold us to their will.
I was gonna make a point on kind of the loopholes in the Bible for slavery, like the 7 years when you let the slave go free. I believe that was for Hebrew slaves only. And then the thing that, and I was going to debate Matt on this because Matt loves to debate slavery.
Well, we don't actually love to debate slavery because we feel that the subject is closed. There is no defense, because I don't care if I'm going to be let go in 7 years. If I'm tired of being used as farm equipment after 7 days, I should be able to leave. So the whole, you must release your slaves, and also this whole two-tiered racism, basically, in slavery as well. That's bad. That's not a feature. That's a bug. That's still bad. So I really would discourage you from trying at all to defend slavery, because the only way you ever get to defend it is what happened last week, is to sand the edges off so much that you're basically describing work rather than slavery.
Yeah, but I also said it benefited the economy at the time.
Why?
Which is never, ever a justification for something. You know what else benefits an economy? Fucking stealing shit, invading countries. My forefathers stole the world. It was great for the economy. We built so much cool shit. It's brilliant. Apart from all of the horrific things we had to do to hundreds of thousands and millions of people to get that economy. No, economy is never a justification.
And I'm curious, why are you trying to justify this in any way? Why? What's the point? Because we know it's bad. So I don't understand why we're trying to do these mental gymnastics and trying to explain away slavery. Ben, I'm really trying to understand why you're trying to make an argument for this.
I was doing it more to help Christians that, because a lot of the Christians that call into the show, they try to bend over backwards and protect the words of the slavery in the Bible, Exodus 21, Leviticus, and so they call in, and then Matt or somebody else points out all the flaws that they have. And so one of the reasons I was going to try to debate slavery last week was because I was trying to make a case that it was more good than bad, to try to appeal to a larger audience. I mean, it was also my take on it as far as indentured servitude. And with people being other people.
You may have actually done what you set out to do, because if any Christians watching these calls, and again, I don't mean to dump on you, Benjamin, I appreciate your call, and I appreciate that you've been a very reasonable interlocutor. You seem like a very, very reasonable person, but your arguments are bad. And if a Christian sees that they're bad, they go, well, I won't want to argue those arguments. Actually, slavery's probably just shit all round. I probably shouldn't defend it ever. You're awesome, man. I really like how you take these things in good humor. I appreciate you, Benjamin. Thank you very much.
Well, other than that pretty much is the call. I was going to try to point out how evil is good, and just teaching people life lessons, and making their mental stronger, mental capacity stronger. Now, I get there's a difference between losing your car keys and losing your house, obviously, but I was still trying to make the point that some bad things are good in the long run.
And just again to reiterate, I think that the good that comes from it does not outweigh the bad in most circumstances, and in some circumstances there is no good. But I'm going to have to bring this call to a close there, Benjamin. Again, I'd like to thank you, and I assure you that people watching this call will find it educational. You got any last words there, Helen?
No, this is a really good call. I'm glad that I hope we gave you a little bit more stuff to think about, Ben, in regards to your argument, and maybe reconsider some of the positions. Maybe we should just get rid of the idea that slavery is good in any way, because you can do both. You can believe in a God and also think slavery is bad. You can't. They are not mutually exclusive. So.
Well, thank you for your call, Chief. You take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, a very constructive call. I'm not joking when I say I really enjoyed the call last week. I enjoyed that call this week. He's trying to defend pretty abhorrent things, but he obviously knows that the depictions are bad. And yeah. But yeah, so moving on, we've got a few announcements to make. On August 26th, which is hurtling towards us as a speed of knots, we have our bat cruise, our annual bat cruise. Tickets are selling. You can go ahead and get yours at the address tiny.cc/bat cruise. And if you deign to join us on that auspicious boat, or boats actually, you may run into people such as Forrest Valkai, Secularity, J Mike, Objectively Dan, me, I'll be there, Kelly Laughlin, so many people. You can pester us, you can ask us questions, you can poke us in the face. Don't do that without asking first. So yeah, that's again tiny.cc/bat cruise. Now, Helen.
Yes.
Our producer, lovely gentleman, Richard, he's having a well-deserved vacation right now. And we decided that while the cat's away, the mice will play. And by play, I mean sell a bunch of sweet swag at a huge discount in our store. So if you go to the site
store.
Yes, it's tiny.cc/merch.th, I believe, ACA merch, pardon me. You can use the promo code Don't Tell Richard, that's all caps, no punctuation, no spacing, Don't Tell Richard, to get discounts off everything. We have all kinds of cool stuff in there. I would thoroughly encourage you to do so. Maybe grab some before the back cruise so you can rock the fit, as they say in the youth, I think, at the bat cruise. I am, in fact, wearing a bit of ACA swag myself today. So it's fantastic stuff. Just don't tell Richard. He'll get mad. Don't tell him.
He'll be very upset.
He'll be super, super upset.
So mad.
And we have also had in some superb chats that have come up. I'm going to read a couple. Let's see what we got here. We have one, Monkey at Typewriter, $2. Would be worse if Gojira opened the Tokyo Olympics. I mean, it depends on which era. I mean, because in certain eras he was a friend to the people, and sometimes he's not. If it's Shin Godzilla or Godzilla -1, no, that guy's bad. He will destroy.
Gojira is a band. Oh, they're a metal band.
I thought you were talking about Godzilla.
But so, I mean, so it would be cool if Godzilla opened the Olympics. You know, I don't think that there'd be much of some sports going on, but Gojira is a metal band, and I'm all for all metal bands opening every sporting event. I still
remember when metal won the Eurovision Song Contest that one time. That was great. Yeah. So next we have William Matties. Bro to Jamie. Yeah. Wonderbolts. Brohoof to Jamie, and hello to Helen. Hope you're all having wonderful times. Don't go super crazy because of theists. Love you too, and the crew. Thank you very much. Much love to y'all too. We don't go that crazy. We have our ways of coping. Usually bitching about things on the Discord. But next we have Thomas Wachter. Yep, Wachter. Hello, moderators and helpers of the show. Your help is so important to our community. As I said, yeah, we literally couldn't do what we do without the tireless efforts of those very talented people behind the camera. Next, Gordon Bennett. We got a slew of them coming in. We got Secularity, host of the show. Excellent gentleman. I mean, I love that guy.
I know we all love. Yeah. Sorry, he good people.
Yeah, $5. Look.
That's it.
Look, it's my amazing friends, Helen and Jamie. Keep up the amazing work. We'll try. We'll give it a go. William Matters again with another $5. I shouldn't need a liver-breaking amount of OTC meds to function daily, but I do. 4-letter fire truck. Oh, God. You eat a rotten 4-letter rooster. Yes. Very, very diplomatic language. Many of us deal with lifelong illnesses and disabilities that people say, oh, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. No, what doesn't kill you leaves scars that you just learn to
as
deal
someone
with.
that lives with chronic pain and has have to take medication for major depressive disorder and have ADHD, I can tell you that I feel like my life would be a whole lot better if I did not have those things. So thank God for science.
Yep. Thanks, science, for science. And we've got another super chat in from Miranda Rensberger, member for 6 months, regular contributor to the show. Fantastic person. Richard is going to be super, I'm assuming, missed at you when he escapes from the basement. Don't call England a basement. It's not that. It's quite dank and it is pretty damp. I mean, but, you know, we've got Greg's, Tesco. It's all right.
You do have Yorkshire pudding, which is super yummy. So, I do appreciate some Yorkshire pudding.
Yes,
so.
Yes. Kelly Laughlin, wonderful co-host and Thai enthusiast, has gifted 5 Talk Heathen memberships. So thank Kelly, or you'll just got access to our memberships, which you can do yourself as well and get all kinds of wonderful perks like emotes and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's great. And then one more super chat before we move on to the next call. Quantum Answer has been a member for 6 months, 100 Czech krona. Dear Helen, it's time. Yes, we didn't forget the dirty Jesus joke. Please.
Okay. All right. What is thick and sticky and falls from the sky? The second coming of Jesus Christ.
Let him come unto you and into you, and you shall find salvation. Buy me dinner first, Big J.
Yeah, please do. So there you go. There you go, Quantum. There's your dirty Jesus joke. And it was past the 10 minutes, so.
Yes. Don't demonetize us, please. Don't cancel us. Okay, and so I think we have another call up and ready. Are you ready for this?
I am ready, Freddie.
Okay. So we have a non-theist pagan, D, pronoun she, her, in Aya, arguing for existence of spiritual realm that exists alongside the physical, can be accessed through meditation and ritual. Welcome to the show, D.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm going to immediately hand you over to Helen on this one because I think she's got quite a lot to talk to you about this.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Dee. So, tell me your why you think there is a spiritual realm.
I want to make sure you guys understand I did not call in to give you proof. But I did want to argue for, the possibility that the spiritual realm does exist. I am a practicing pagan. I'm a non-theist, so I do not believe in any gods. I believe that the spiritual is a realm that responds to meditation and ritual and will. I have had experience interacting with this realm. I do not interact with spirits or personalities at all. This is a realm is the only word that I can kind of come up with. I feel that it is by definition, non-physical, but accessible, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so I was involved in the pagan community for 13 years, and I was a high priestess in for 10. So this is something that I also used to believe. And I'm curious as to what experience did you have to, kind of make you feel that this thing, the spiritual realm is something that is part of our reality? Like, what was the experience that you're like, maybe there's something here?
Okay, so I've been solitary and I've been part of a coven. I am not Wiccan. I believe maybe you might be able to apply the word animist to me as well. So I've had several experiences, but one in particular I can share with you. Several years ago, I needed to have a surgery, and when I reported for the pre-op process, they found that my iron level was severely low, very low, so we couldn't do the surgery at that time. And the doctor told me, of course I took iron supplements, but the doctor told me he did not expect me to be able, and my levels were so low, and that was causing other problems too, but my levels were so low, he did not expect that I would be ready for surgery for another 6 to 8 weeks. I did some research, I took my supplements, and I did a ritual that I won't bore you with details there, but my levels increased to normal within 3 weeks, and I was able to get my surgery sooner. And the doctor, the surgeon said he could not explain why my levels had come up so fast.
So the question that comes across my mind with that, Dee, is that, you were following doctor's orders, which is fantastic. One of the things that really gets me about certain people who believe in the supernatural is that they will use it and only it and ignore the things that we know about, medicine and science. So thank you for taking those iron supplements. But let me ask you this. Is it possible that the doctor was just being a bit conservative and maybe you were a bit more your body was a bit more resilient than it thought? Because these things do happen. People recover faster than they initially think. I personally work in a health adjacent field in a charity, so I hear stories all the time of people seeming to make almost miraculous recoveries, but also I hear stories of people suddenly going downhill with no explanation. And my question is, how could we tell whether it was just a bit of a coincidence and a perfectly natural explanation for your iron levels suddenly recovering faster than thought, or a supernatural intervention?
And I agree with you. I cannot discount that possibility, absolutely.
Okay.
I can only say that is only one experience among many that has returned to me.
And have you ever had a ritual fail?
Ritual fail? Yeah, I've experienced that. Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't seem particularly reliable, and people tend to count the hits. So I'm actually a proponent of secular practice of religious things, like going through the motions for your own recognizance without believing that they have power. I think it's perfectly fine, especially as a way to sort of honor tradition and keep up these things. but believing that these things have power without having any evidence of it, and in fact seeing them fail as often as they succeed, it does puzzle me slightly that people would still continue to believe something that is so hit and miss.
Sure. And I have, I know one fallacy is listening to you guys and people like Matt and Forrest and Eric. I'm learning about how logic works, and I, definitely having, listened to you all, I'm seeing, the holes in my suppositions. I very much believe in, following doctor's orders, driving on the right side of the road, not sticking my finger in the, electrical socket. But I've found that my pagan practice enhances my experience in the physical world.
So, what you're doing, like from a psychological aspect, is that you are priming your brain to do, when you do a ritual, like you're doing a ritual for your health or for anything that we would call manifestation in the pagan community, what you want to bring into your life. What you're basically doing when you're doing these meditative ritual practices is that you're priming your brain. And like this is done through people that do mindfulness meditation. It's the same thing where you want your brain, your consciousness more aware of your environment to, be aware of certain things that you would like to see happen. This is why they always say, like, if you're going to do a ritual for your health, also do what your doctor says. But this might be, but if you're going to do any sort of ritual, even if it has no supernatural process to it, it does bring a calming effect to the body. And it can also help us psychologically deal with the stress of these events in our lives that feel kind of overwhelming, like health crises, losing a job, financial changes, family changes, relationship changes. But this is all a psychological effect. There's nothing really external going on. It is all kind of happening within the brain. And this is not that different from prayer. We're putting that we want to kind of separate it because if it's a spiritual realm or there's some kind of, the secret where you can just, if you ask for something and think about it enough, it will manifest into your life. No, this is a form of psychological priming. You are getting your brain prepared to associate things that you think have supernatural significance when really you've tricked your brain to recognize it. And it feels profound. It feels like something that was supposed to happen because you already have that expectation that it is. When really it's just but because you've gone through the process of doing the ritual, psychologically priming your brain, you are now prepared, on some kind of subconscious level to associate things that seem profound, seem supernatural, seem to be coming from a source outside of ourselves that we're bringing it to us when really we have just done psychological trickery. We do this all the time. And it can, and because we are, as Jamie said, hitting the miss, counting the hits and ignoring the misses, they feel significant. They feel really, really deep and profound. And it feels like everything kind of came together. But at the same time, I do agree rituals are very important. I still do ritual. I enjoy doing ritual, but I also recognize that this is something I'm doing to myself, and there's nothing external, supernatural, or anything that's happening. This is the power within myself to bring about change that I want to see, but using my brain power to do it, not doing nothing external. There's nothing outside. There's no gods, there's no spirits, there's nothing. It's just me. And also getting the help from other people along the way, like a doctor or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that all sounds, yeah, I can get with that. And the phrase priming your brain is actually a very apt description of how I have felt about ritual, because we, at least in the group that I practice with, our definition of ritual was the process of preparing your mind to be open to the spiritual possibilities. So in a way, I guess that I'm still looking at priming your brain as being part of, the ritual. But and before you brought me live on the call, I was thinking about the misses, and understanding that when it's the internal process of getting your brain ready, it's like anything else, practice makes perfect. That was kind of the way I felt about it, but I definitely understand, what you're saying about, the brain. And
we would say, all we would say is that, I mean, I know that especially in the sort of internet, like atheism space and the discourse, there's a reputation for people to start like really picking holes in people's things and almost belittling them, and we don't want to do that here. It seems that
you're not.
Yeah, and it seems that whether you believe they actually have actual supernatural power or not, you're not letting your beliefs get in the way of things that are provable, which is fantastic, and they have some benefit to you. So all we would ask is, you don't have to stop doing them. I've done rituals in contexts before. I used to do martial arts, and we would bow to our weapons and thank them. I didn't believe that my sword was alive, but it did make me concentrate on the task at hand, which is a really good idea when you're swinging around a 3-foot-long razor blade. And so continuing the rituals is not a problem. All we would ask is examine your epistemology. Why do you believe what you believe? And are the reasons actually good? And talk to people. Feel free to come onto the Discord and chat to people on there and examine. We have practicing pagans on there as well. It's not just atheists on there, and people at all stages of their deconstruction journey. So you might want to just bounce some ideas off some folks.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing that I would say is that you were talking about the mindfulness type of meditation. That's I've taken a lot of stuff from Buddhism. Sorry about that.
I mean,
Yeah, no, when I identify myself, I do say that I'm a pagan Buddhist, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to confuse the issue. But you've all given me some very good things to think about and different ways of thinking, and definitely studying my epistemology is a good idea. I'm going to do that.
And if you do end up coming to the conclusion that you are believing in things for less than ideal reasons, please don't beat yourself up about it. We are all susceptible to fallacy. We are but human. And it takes people decades to deprogram themselves from beliefs that they hold, especially ones that they hold very dearly.
Yeah. Very long ago, I was a fundamentalist Christian. You could have almost called me a Christian nationalist in some ways. So I've grown a lot from those years.
Yeah, that's an amazing journey you've been on, and you, in doing that, you've exhibited mental fortitude and strength, and like, I'm not jealous as such, but I'm slightly in awe. I haven't had to question myself quite as thoroughly as that. So well done.
Yeah, and also too, like, I want to point out that like, I am an atheist, but I still find a lot of enjoyment in pagan rituals and some of the teachings of them. I just let go of all the supernatural things, and I want to emphasize, if you are a non-believer, but there are still things that you really like to do as far as rituals, holidays, things like that. Don't stop doing them if they bring you joy, if it makes you feel connection to things. But also realize that this is just something we've been doing since people be people, and it's okay. You can't, again, they're not mutually exclusive. You can have ritual and enjoy doing ritual and also be an atheist. You can do both. So, and they do have benefits, but I always say, like, as Jamie was saying about, question your epistemology. Why do I think this is true? Why do I have this belief? And then, and then walk yourself through those questions. And usually, like, I have found now that there is nothing supernatural. Those rituals actually hold a little bit more significance because it's something that I'm choosing to do. And it's something, I'm not worshiping anything. It's just a part of my life and giving meaning to my existence. And I think that can be just as powerful, as people that claim that, if they go to church every Sunday, that Jesus really likes it when they show up.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for the discussion, and I really
don't hang up, Dee. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop you back into the screen room, into the queue, so the moderators can give you the details for the Discord if you want to get involved with that. Because I personally would love for you to get involved with the community. I think you would be a valuable addition. I think you could teach a lot of people some lessons. So I'm going to go ahead and pop you back in there. And thank you, honestly, for calling it.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you, Dee. This is a really great conversation. I hope to see you in the Discord. I'm there, so.
Yeah. And speaking of the Discord, just for everyone else there will be an after show. I'm going to be there. Our backup host, Kelly Laughlin, will be there. I believe you're going to be there too, Helen.
I'll be there.
Yes. And if you want to get involved with that nonsense, it's not nonsense. Sometimes it's nonsense. You can go to tiny.cc/ACD Discord. That's ACD Discord, and get yourself signed up. I promise we don't swear too much, and I'm only drunk sometimes. Anyway.
I mean, you don't swear very much. You can speak for yourself there, sir.
I'll say all the words, the J word, the Q word. Anyway, speaking of words, words are also names, and I would like you to read out a very special list of names that we do each week, and that is our top 5 patrons. These are people who give very much of themselves to the community, and we literally couldn't do what we do without their wonderful contribution. So if you would do the honors.
Yes. Again, if I say your name wrong, I apologize. But I'm going to read our top 5 patrons again. Also, thank you very much to all our wonderful patrons. Number 1 is tried and true Dingleberry Jackson. Number 2 is Oops, all singularity. Number 3, Devour Valjean. I told you I'm not that great. Number 4 is Khalif Helveti. And number 5 is Left in the Leaves. And our honorable mention this week is Ahmed K. Pandy. So thank you to all of our patrons. So if you want to give us money and become a patron and get all the little perks that comes with being a patron, you should go to tiny.cc/Patreon.th and become a patron, because that'd be really great. And you can get all kinds of, get all the little perks that comes with a patron. And then you can also join us in the Discord. afterwards as well, and it'd be super fun.
Indeed. So that's fantastic for the patrons. Thank you very much. And I think I have, speaking of people giving us money, we have another super chat. Todd Greene, new member. Yay, one of us. You'll never leave.
I know that guy.
$10. Looking fabulous, wifey. Wifey wife. You and the bald bearded bloke putting on a quality show. I'm always reminded of Bill Bailey saying his head resembles an egg and his hair falls down like a shower curtain.
Well, my husband is also a bald bearded bloke.
Hey.
So 3 cheers for the bald bearded blokes out there. Thank you, husband. I love you. And thank you to everyone that's giving us super chats and in the chat and talking and engaging. We love all that stuff. So thank you all for being here. It's really, really wonderful. Thank you for all of you that participate and make this show what it is. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Now, we've got a little thing that we do most weeks. I wanted to just sort of get them up because some people are brave enough to call in. Like our friends Benjamin and Dee, who have had fantastic calls with us today. Some people are a little bit more indirect with their commentary on what we do. We do get comments on the clips that we put on our social media. And so I'd like to ask the crew to put up a couple of those. If they could bring up screenshot 1. That's my chud face, saying that I use pronouns. I'm just going to remind myself of exactly what it says. Bear with me a moment because it's hilarious. This clown, uses pronouns. That should disqualify any word that he speaks.
Don't we all use pronouns?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
She just did. Well, actually, Helen Greene, I would like to get Helen Greene's perspective on this comment. If Helen Greene would be so good as to give Helen Greene's perspective, I would be very interested.
Well, thank you, Jamie. I will give Helen Greene's opinion on this particular comment because Jamie asked me to. So, okay, I don't know who said this, and if you're watching, we all use pronouns. Guess what? You used a pronoun in that comment. So I am confused on how, if you use pronouns, it disqualifies you from having an opinion. Please explain, because that's how language works.
Yeah. It's kind of nuts, and you hear all the same arguments like, they doesn't refer to one person. It's like, yes, it's been in use for more than 6 centuries as a singular pronoun, and it's not tough to call people by their preferred pronouns. I may very, 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 very slightly understand someone getting a bit confused with neo-pronouns, but they are so exceptionally rare. He, him, she, her, they, them. It's not that hard, and you're basically, again, getting bent out of shape because you want to be offended. You want to be offended. You want to be offended. It's that simple. For being accused of being reactionary snowflakes, as we are often here in the more progressive side of the spectrum, it's amazing how easy it is to fucking trigger a Christian.
I am constantly baffled because if someone, like, I'm just going to use this as an example, like, you're a Jamie. Let's say somebody's like, nope, I'm going to call you James. And you're like, no, I'm not called James. I'm called Jamie. You would get annoyed. You would feel disrespected because someone is insisting on calling you something that is not your name and how you want to be referred. Yep. This goes for everybody. Like, no one's going to start calling me, Heather and get away with it because I'm like, no, my name is Helen. Call me Helen.
And further to that point, I don't know whether you're psychic or something. But yes, that is the only variant of my name that I don't like people using. Call me Jim, Jam, Jimbo, Jim Jumba, Jim Jew, Seamus, whatever you like. But James, for the reason you just gave, is someone saying that they know me better than I do, and people in my life have used it to psychologically bully me.
Right.
So it isn't nice, and you know it isn't nice, and you're doing it on purpose to hurt people, and that makes you a bad person if you misuse people's pronouns on purpose. Anyway, sorry, I got a little bit emotional there. Could we get up number 7, please? Me again. It's almost like I've been on this show a few times.
I know.
I swear atheism is a religion, all day, every day, worrying about what other people believe obsessively. Okay. Well, first of all, religion has very much connotations like dogmas and dictates and stuff. And atheism is a one answer to one question. Is there a God? I don't believe so. Is there a God or gods? And secondly, I don't spend all day, every day worrying about what other people believe. I have other thoughts in my head. I do spend a lot of time worrying about what people believe because beliefs inform actions and actions matter. So, yes, if you believe that a person should not be given certain rights because of how they live their life or their sexuality or their ethnic state or their gender identity, then that belief is a bad belief because it informs bad actions. And I'm going to think about that. What do you think?
Okay, like I always say, I don't care what you believe in until that belief is causing harm. And yes, I'm an atheist. And yes, I'm an atheist activist. I not only volunteer, I volunteer recovery from religion. And the reason why I worry about people's beliefs, because I hear stories again and again and again of how religion has hurt people, caused real trauma, real distress in their lives. That is why we do what we do, because it's not because we are like trying to stick it to the believers. You know, if your beliefs didn't cause harm, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I could still have academic conversations about the weaknesses in your epistemology or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that'd be around a couple of beers offline, you know. I only do this in front of a camera because belief is doing real harm. So, you know, also that I'm a massive attention whore and a narcissist.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's healthy we're healthy narcissists. That's the important thing. You can be a narcissist as long as it's healthy.
Oh, no. I'm a barely held together shipwreck of imposter syndrome and neuroses. It's fine. It's fine.
I know who I am. I'm very confident in it. I'm an uppity woman.
And to segue from one person who self-deprecates more than they should to someone else who absolutely self-deprecates more than they should, I would actually like to bring on our wonderful backup host, Kelly Laughlin, who continuously says that, oh no, it's not I don't do nothing. I was no big deal. I'm like, bullshit. Yeah, you're a cool dude. So what do you think of the show then, Kelly?
You know, Jamie, I took something from you last week. I wrote down some notes for each of the callers, and Ben, Ben has a habit of like redefining words. I think, like, is a tornado really evil? Or is it just a piece of nature? I mean, it's like calling a tree evil or a river evil. It doesn't make any sense to me. So it's like he's trying to redefine what evil is to make his religion look better, just the same way he did with slavery last week, trying to redefine it into indentured servitude to make it look better for his religion. And I think people need to pay more attention to definitions. At least Benjamin does. He needs to find out what definitions are and that they do actually have meanings. And then D, great call. I feel for you. I myself had a miraculous recovery a few years ago. My left foot turned, it really so dark purple, it was almost black. And it lasted for months. I was misdiagnosed as having a blockage in the micro arteries of my foot, and they were going to cut my foot off. I almost had my foot amputated. And then one day I was looking over my own medical records and I realized that I might have a B12 deficiency. So I started taking massive amounts of B12 about 7 days before the operation to have my foot cut off, and my foot got better. So was that a miraculous discovery, or was that just, or recovery, or was that just science helping me out? And I had no religious leanings at all from before that, and I still have none after it. So it didn't change anything for me. And I always wonder when you have people like that think like, well, I'm doing a ritual and it's good for me. How do you know? How do you know that it's actually going to do good for you? Because I don't always know that any of my actions are going to be good for me. Even the best intentions ones are going to be good for me in the future. So I think it's really important to question what your actions are and what you think about your future. And that's about it. That's my thoughts on the show. So I'm quite a few of them, actually.
Well, I think you make up a good point, Kelly, because just with ritual or prayer, that if things work out, then it was meant to be. If things don't work out, then there was a lesson you had to learn. There's always this explanation away of, our actions, because guess what? We're very good at reasoning and justifying things good or bad, so... and really that just comes down to a decision. Also, I do think some trees are evil. They can look a little shady. I know. I had to throw in a dad joke.
Well, it's fantastic. I think, like I say, we had some good calls today. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Just a quick reminder, once again, Bat Cruise Weekend 24th. Come along. Tiny.cc/Bat Cruise. Get your merch, 15% off. Tiny.cc/merch ACA. Don't tell Richard. And we are sending out love rings to everyone out there, because if you don't believe, then this is a place for you. But if you do believe, we don't hate you.
We're just not convinced.
We want the truth, so watch Truth Wanted live Friday at 7 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTW and call into the show at 512-991-9242, or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/calltw.